Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. It's your boy, William Wolf. I'm back. Let's go. I ain't got nothing to say except I'm ranting. And I don't even know what I'm going to rant about. We got a couple different shots, too. Yeah, if I want to get that close up. My boy Gus Fernandez hooked it up with the fresh cut. We're live. We ain't got nothing to do but rant. We're going to talk about football. I'm going to go through some teams in the diamond. Speak about who I think is going to have some wide receiver 1 finishes this year. RB1 finishes this year. Tight end 1 finishes this year. We'll only do the top 3. QB1 finishes this year. We'll only do the top 6. We're going to talk a little bit about this Sunday. We're going to talk about what happened this past Thursday, yesterday, between the 49ers and the Giants. By the way, for all the 6 people that viewed this channel yesterday, I gave out free money on San Francisco, the lock. We're 2-0-1 now on Thursdays. 1 pushed, which we should have won on the Eagles versus the Vikings. We got backdoor pushed in that game. 2-0 in the other games. We got a hot bit coming Sunday. I'm giving out free data, free money, knowledge, football. I mean, I do this. This is what I do. I study football. I love it. I love football more than anything in life. There's nothing I love more than football. Literally. Since I was 15 years old, I loved football. Obsessed with it. The schematics, the X's and O's, the players, the results, the games, the hitting, the dogs. There's nothing better than football, modern day gladiators, the best of the best. I can only wish I played, but I don't. I just watch. Make sure y'all stay healthy, man. We got a little vitamin water, no sugar. Y'all boys need to be taking care of this number 1 asset, the body, man. It's important. If you look like shit, do something about it, man. We can all do something about it. It's the one thing we can do. Now, last night, it's a hot topic about Deebo Samuel. That big boy Deebo. That boy is strong. He got 99 heart. He runs hard. Deebo, we all know he's a dog. Did we ever not think that he was a dog? Come on. This man was 3 years ago. Came out of nowhere. You could get him in auction drafts for like $2, $3. And in snake drafts, you can get him probably in the 8th round. He went on that year to be, I think, a top 5 receiver in the NFL for fantasy. Had a fucking huge year that year. The year after that, he disappointed. He was a first or second. He was like a 2nd round pick in snake. Probably like $30, $40, like $40 in auction. I want to say that was last year. I don't know how many years it's been now. Maybe 4. Could have been 2 years ago. And then last year, if it was 4 years, he had a good year, but it wasn't like what we can expect. Now, will Deebo bounce back? With Brandon Ayuk out, we saw a huge output. He was featured in the offense. Someone like myself stayed away from Deebo, stayed away from, I stay away from McCaffrey. I don't want George Kittle. Who doesn't want Christian McCaffrey? But that price was high. HAI. And it's yet to be seen whether or not Debo is going to perform at a wide receiver one output with Brandon Ayuk in the lineup. Remember, not this past week, yesterday, but the week prior to that, Brandon got hurt. So it doesn't surprise me that Debo is picking up the slack there. We all know he's a stud. He's a stud. And we're not surprised that he looked like a dog out there. But the thing about Debo is he may get hurt. That man runs way too hard for his size. And they put him in the backfield. Granted, they really haven't been running him. They kind of just been throwing a lot of, I don't know why the route's not coming to me, but a swing pass. They've been throwing a lot of swing passes to him. As long as he can avoid the big hits from the D linemen and the big linebackers, I could see him possibly avoiding injury. But he's a violent guy out there, man, and it's almost inevitable that he will suffer an injury. We'll see what happens when Brandon Ayuk comes back. Let's go to the monitor, and we're going to talk about what happened in the Diamond. Last night, Christian McCaffrey, 20 points, looks like he was, I think, 1 point, maybe 2 points over his expected output by Yahoo. So nothing out of the ordinary. He was minus 265 or something like that to score a touchdown yesterday. So it was no surprise that he did score a touchdown. Let's look at this chat here in case I get some chats in the chat room. We live on a Friday, 4 p.m. I know y'all are still working, but I ain't. One moment, please. Oh, please hold. Do 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 do. 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 We fucking live. We're so live. All right, so I got the chat up in case any of y'all bozos want to talk. If you got any questions for a G, I'm here. You feel me? So, Christian McCaffrey scored a dub. Not anything that we didn't expect. In this matchup, we need Bijan Robinson to have a slower game than normal. No touchdowns. If we can avoid a touchdown from Bijan, we should be okay. Going against Detroit, I expect him to have a big game. But hopefully, Algier has a big game as well. Hopefully, Detroit can force Atlanta to put the ball through the air. Maybe Pitts finally gets a touchdown, something sleepy like that. I expect Pollard to match Christian McCaffrey pretty easily with the 20 points. That shouldn't be an issue. Let's see here. We got the Bears had over $100K worth of equipment stolen from Soldier Field Wednesday night. Thieves tore down a security fence to drive the items out of the stadium. Wow. Chicago, man, it's a war zone. Word just in, Justice Hill is out. That means that you can unleash Gus Edwards this week, guys. Gus Edwards will be unleashed. That's huge for me in my platinum league. I got Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, and it's a struggle to decide which one to start. But it will be Gus Edwards this week. Huge news in the fantasy football world. Tank of Hell Upgraded a full Thursday. We will be deploying Tank Dell this week in the Platinum League. He looks like a stud. We'll see what's word on St. Brown today if he's in a practice. We need to get a full practice from DeAndre Hopkins today, or I will be starting Sky Moore over him against the Chicago Bears. I think Kadarius Toney is probably going to be out, which means more room for Sky Moore to have a big game. Kadarius Toney sidelined Thursday. We need to hear what's going to happen in Friday practice. We will most likely hear that live here on the chat. And you know what? I don't even care about that. I want y'all boys to see me in full. So screw that that monitor bullshit. We finna see me the whole time. We're gonna go over some statistics. You're not gonna see it, but trust me on it. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna give you the real. We're gonna look at the season output right now in a half-point PPR, and we're gonna give some predictions on what's gonna happen the rest of the season, which could possibly give you an idea on who to hold, sell, or trade. So far, QBs, the QB1 in all of fantasy football. Believe it or not, taking away yesterday's games, because Purdy has had a 19, 16, and 23 performance. That's not going to get him in the top 6. Is Kirk Cousins. Now, Kirk Cousins has a 20-point output and a 32-point output. A lot of garbage time in Philadelphia in week 2. He's going to be at home against the Chargers this week. I expect another pretty good week from Cousins. The thing is with Cousins, I just believe that team is regressing and they're going to continue to regress. I do not think Kirk Cousins will have a top 6 finish. It appears to me that he is, after the Philadelphia game, proven that he will continue to throw for over 300 yards a game, though. They're going to have a very, very tough time running the ball in Minnesota. The offensive line is very mediocre. Madison, they already brought Akers in. Akers is not going to do better than Madison. That's just going to cause a split there, which is bad news for Madison owners or anybody that's going to own Akers or anybody in that backfield. But as far as Cousins is concerned, he will finish as a top 12 quarterback. I just don't think he'll finish in the top 6. He's currently number 1. I think that a 32-point output might be the best you'll see from his season this year. I could be wrong, though. He does sling. You know, Justin Jefferson is amazing. And I think they're going to keep easing Jordan Addison into that lineup until he's a full go as their number 2 receiver. Osborne is getting the most snaps right now. I don't think that's continue. He's not playing very well. Tua Tagovailoa, number 2. I can't pronounce his name. I don't give a fuck. All right? I don't care. Tua T. You know what I'm talking about. That Miami boy, 305. Now, will Tua stay healthy? That's the key. If Tua stays healthy, he will be a top 6 quarterback this year in fantasy. I am facing Tua this week in the diamond. It's going to be a little blurry here, and then it's going to clear up. It'll clear up for you guys in a second here. It just needs to adjust. Tua versus Stafford. Show bench. I got Justin Fields. But we're starting Stafford over him because I'm a dog and I make big decisions and I ain't nervous about him. Now, in the beginning of the year, I said before the season started that I am not a Tua believer. I think he's too short as a quarterback. He's a pocket passer. So when you're a short pocket passer, it's extremely difficult to see over your offensive lineman and make the right reads. A lot of times you're not going to see linebackers in lanes, which leads to interceptions. But Tua's been doing that his whole life. So it seems like he has it figured out. Seems like he has an extremely good connection with Waddle, and everybody has a good connection with Tyreek Hill. The brilliant offensive mind in Miami, the little nerd coach, he's scheming it up. He's kind of my idol, because in another lifetime, that's exactly what I would be doing. I would be doing it for the Bears, though, and I would be doing it for Justin Fields right now, scheming up good plays for him to run instead of these bullshit plays that they're running in Chicago. Listen, let me tell you something real quick. Mike McDaniel understands the assignment. Now, he came over from San Francisco, the Shanahan, under the Shanahan umbrella. But he adjusted his scheme. The Miami scheme, besides their zone blocking, is nothing like San Francisco. Miami's scheme is completely different. They're doing tons of different things. Tyreek Hill and Waddle are doing a ton of different things. A lot of motion in both offenses, I will say that. But it's a different scheme, guys. And you know why? Because he has different personnel. That is the reason why Tua, if he can stay healthy, will be a top 6 quarterback this year. And this week, I am afraid of him. Luckily, Tyreek Hill's going against Surtain. That could help me a little bit. They're a little weak in the run, so hopefully McDaniel sees that, and he wants to run the ball a little bit more with Mostert. Mostert looks fucking terrific this year. He's put on weight. He still is just as fast. I think Mostert can continue on this pace. Jeff Wilson will inevitably come in and steal a little bit of work, possibly goal line carries, but I think it won't be exclusive. I think it'll just be depending on who's on the field. And, they're going to ride the hot hand. And I don't see why, if Mostert is balling the way he is and continues to do so, why they would go away from it. They're just going to make sure he stays fresh, and they'll work in Jeff Wilson Jr. So back to the original topic, Tua can be a top 6 quarterback this year. Mark it down as long as he stays healthy. Justin Herbert can also be a top 6 quarterback if he stays healthy. The defense is not playing extremely well right now in LA, which means they're going to play a lot of shootouts, which they have twice now already. They've played games where it was 34-36 against Miami, 24-27 against Tennessee. Justin Herbert, 23 and 25 points. I think he's going to be in that range all year, guys. And if you're able to put out 23, 25, 23, 25 in that area the rest of the year, you're going to be a top 6 quarterback in fantasy. Justin looks good. I knew he was going to be good this year. I stay away from him simply because I like to get a running quarterback in fantasy. But it was inevitable that he was going to be a baller this year. Last year, the rib injury really held him back. Keenan Allen being hurt all year. Mike Williams being hurt all year. The team was just injured last year. They're healthy this year. The offense is going to explode. I know there's a lot of bad media out there about their 0-2 start. They'll be fine. It's been a tough schedule. I think that Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and when Quentin Johnson starts to get a little bit more work, you're talking about a team with a lot of weapons. Eckler's a receiving kind of running back too, so Herbert gets him the ball. It means more value for Herbert. So, yeah, I think Herbert will be a top 6 quarterback. Pat Mahomes, we're not even going to talk about it. That's a top 6 quarterback. So we got 3 of them already that we think are going to hold their value at top 6. Jordan Love's going to drop off a map. He has way he has way too many touchdowns. He's have a negative regression there as far as passing TD is concerned. His completion percentage is lower than most players in the NFL so thus far. Yards are not there much. You should see an improvement with Christian Watson, but there's no way he'll be a top 6 quarterback. Same thing with Russell Wilson, Mac Jones, Goff, Howe. I think Richardson is an interesting one. It's a possibility that he can sneak in the top 6 if he continues on this touchdown pace rushing. But I'm going to put him outside of the top 6 for now. Justin Hurts will be, or Jalen Hurts, excuse me. He will 1,000% be top 6. So that gives you 4 guys so far. Josh Allen will be, that's 5 guys so far. Watson, Stroud, Stafford. Those guys will not. Stafford has a chance, and Fields and Lamar Jackson have a chance. So out of all the guys I named, you're looking at Fields, Stafford, and Lamar Jackson to fill out the top 6. So we got Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa, and Herbert, Justin Herbert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're looking at Stafford, Fields, and Lamar Jackson to finish out that top 6. Why do I think Stafford could be a top 6? Positive touchdown regression. He's thrown 1 touchdown so far this year, but over 300 yards in both of his games. A similar stat line as Kirk Cousins minus the touchdowns. What's the difference? Offensive productivity? No. The difference is the Vikings haven't run in their touchdowns. Madison's been dreadful. The Rams, on the other hand, have rushed in a bunch of touchdowns between Williams and Akers week 1 and 2. They haven't thrown many touchdowns. It's just, there's nothing more to it except just variance. There will be some variance to the touchdowns for the Rams. When Cooper Kupp comes back, a lot of people think that the Puka Nacua production is going to come down. Inevitably, it will. You're talking about a wide receiver 1, arguably the highest volume wide receiver in the NFL coming back into the lineup. But what does that mean for Matthew Stafford? I think it means green. You're talking about having his Robert Woods back in his offense, an offense that, was explosive and one of the best in the NFL with their Super Bowl year and the year prior to their Super Bowl year with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Now you have Puka Nacua, you have Tutu Atwell. I'd argue both of those guys are an improvement from Robert Woods. You have no more shitty Allen Robinson, who can't separate and doesn't understand zone concepts and how to get open against zone. You have Tutu Atwell, who's just got crazy speed, can do things that, frankly, they didn't have in that lineup ever. Stafford's a number 1 pick, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. He's on a revenge tour this year. He looks unbelievable. Go turn on the tape, man. We played against an extremely tough San Francisco team. I say we because I have Stafford, but the Rams have played against an extremely tough San Francisco defense, and they moved the ball like up and down the field like it was nothing. What do you think is going to happen Monday night? He doesn't even have Cooper Kupp. Imagine when he has Cooper Kupp. The Puka Nacua production's not going to change. What he does is invaluable. He knows how to beat zone. He knows how to get open against zone. He has reliable hands. He knows where to go and what Stafford's thinking. They're on the same page already after 2 weeks in the NFL. Those kind of guys, they're a dime a dozen. They don't come around very often. From the data that I've gathered, Stafford is just that dude when it comes to receivers. He knows how to you can essentially put anybody out there and he's going to ball with them. But when you put him out there with a guy who really understands offenses, and Allen Robinson wasn't that guy, obviously, you produce a Puka Nacua. Now, Puka's also under the wing of Cooper Kupp. He's quite literally been holding his hand through training camp and all through this whole process, gaining the knowledge that he needs because he's a sponge. And him and Cooper Kupp, they're essentially running the same role. What's going to happen when Cooper comes back? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to Puka Nacua. But I do know this. 35 targets through 2 weeks. Not only 35 targets, but 15 catches and 10 catches. Now, doing the math, that's 25 catches out of 35. Now, I'm a pretty good math guy myself. As a matter of fact, I'm extremely sharp at math. But I'll even just do that real quick for you. That's 71% catch. That's incredible, guys. You know what that means? It's efficiency. Not only is he getting targeted, but Stafford knows that he's going to get catches. And a lot of his balls, buddy, he's just open. He's finding the spots in the zone. Now, it's going to be interesting to see when a team just decides to play man on the Rams. The problem is when it's hard to play man on the Rams because Sean McVay is going to pick you apart. That's what he does, man. You put yourself in zone. He's gonna do a bunch of bump runs, passes where cornerbacks are getting bumped, and it's leading to big plays. Tutu Atwell up top. You're talking about a lot of motion that leads to drag routes and crossing routes that get pretty open because wide receivers are bumping corners on natural bumps. He understands how to beat man. He understands the glitches that come in the loopholes that you can do as an offense to get open against man-to-man in the NFL. So a lot of teams are playing zone on the Rams thus far. Now, is that a coincidence? San Francisco primarily plays zone, so that nothing is going to change there. And they played I forgot who Seattle. Seattle plays zone too, guys. They play cover 3. So yes, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when the Rams play against man-to-man and see what happens with Puka Nacua. I imagine his targets will come down. He's a zone killer, so teams are going to realize that as well. Let's see here what the Browns. A lot of wide 9 to Jim Short's defense. They like to mix it up. I think Cleveland here this weekend, Monday night, will be a true test to see what Stafford is all about and what Puka Nacua is all about. Because I will admit, week 1 and 2, they played against zone defenses in Seattle and San Francisco. Those teams are base zone all the time. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm not quite sure about DeAndre Hopkins or Sky Moore this weekend. Still haven't decided. But let's get into a little bit of Diamond Talk. And we'll stick with this theme that we got here going. We're going to move on to wide receivers and who we think is going to remain as wide receiver 1s, who will fall out of wide receiver 1s, essentially giving you an idea of who you should keep, hold, or trade. Now, Stephon Diggs will be a wide receiver 1. Tyreek Hill will be a wide receiver 1. Mike Evans will probably drop out of wide receiver 1, but he will be a wide receiver 2. Still incredible value for Mike Evans. Go watch my tape I did numerous videos on the most undervalued receivers in fantasy this year, and Mike Evans was a huge part of that. I said that he was going to be a great undervalued receiver this year, and so far he has delivered. Puka Nacua. Will he remain a wide receiver 1? I think he will, guys. I think that you're going to have a huge head start. I think Cooper Kupp will be out probably 6 or 7 weeks. I'm just purely speculating. It could only be 4. I could be wrong. And when that happens, I still imagine Puka being highly productive in that offense. Stafford slings, boys. And when Stafford slings, everybody eats and we hungry. But let's just take him out for a second. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1. That's 3 guys. Who we at? CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 1. 4 guys. That's all I have right there. Those 4 are locks. After that, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb. I got those 4 as wide receiver 1s. After that, it's going to be a big discussion and debate. We got names like Debo, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins. Nico! If you ain't on this Nico train, hop on the train. We still got room. If you can get Nico for cheap, go get him. Trust me, that boy's 6'4", runs a 4.4. Nobody's sticking this man. CJ Stroud is slinging. Tank Dell, bye. Nico Collins, bye. We ain't shipping them. We keeping them. We riding with them. We winning fantasy football championships with them boys. There's breakout players every year, guys. Nico Collins is in his 3rd year. He's young. We got to adjust to what's happening and transpiring in front of us. We can't just be a prisoner to snake into the old rankings. We got to adjust. What's happening now? I'll tell you what's happening now. Puka Nacua is balling. Mike Evans is balling. Keenan Allen is balling. Devontae Smith is balling. Nico Collins is balling. Michael Pittman Jr., I did a video on him. Go check the fucking tape. I said he was going to be one of the most undervalued, if not the number 1 most undervalued wide receivers in fantasy football. You can get him for $10 in auction. You can get him for like a 6th round pick in Snake. It was a stupid steal. Richardson has a big arm. He looks good. You can't teach size, guys. You can't teach size. See Mike Evans. See Michael Pittman Jr. Who else we got? Chris Olave. He'll most likely be a wide receiver 1. He's doing. Derek Carr is doing a lot better. New Orleans Saints are a lot better team than I thought they were going to be, and they get some help this week with their running back coming back, and then they got Kamara coming back. So they got a lot of help coming. I got Deebo Samuel finishing as a wide receiver 1. I got Nico Collins finishing as a wide receiver 1. I got Devontae Smith finishing as a wide receiver 1. A.J. Brown. It'll be real close, guys. He's going to show up this week and put himself back in that conversation. I guarantee it against the Bucs this weekend. Monday night, I should say. But I had a feeling Devontae Smith might be the higher fantasy football output and champion of that team this year. A.J. Brown, he's crying a little bit about not getting the ball when his team is 2-0 and a Super Bowl contender. It's fucking pathetic. Anyways, Brandon Ayuk will not be a wide receiver 1, but he will be an elite. What, Bree? Josh Reynolds will not be a wide receiver one. As a matter of fact, seeing the production from Josh Reynolds is astounding if you have Jameson Williams sitting on your bench ready to deploy. And I just so happen to have that boy waiting. This guy right here, Jameson Williams, is one of the best prospects ever to come in the NFL. Runs a 4.2, twitchy, fast, and definitely can catch the ball. Seeing the production from Josh Reynolds, knowing what Gibbs and Montgomery and St. Brown do underneath, tells me there's going to be a lot of long touchdowns for this kid coming this year after week 6. We come in week 7. We have a bye week 9. Then after that, it's when he explodes. Start off after the bye week. I'd say week 10, you're going to see a guy against the Chargers showcase to the world what he's all about. Jameson Williams is like a bundle of fire, just building and 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 building until it's unleashed. We had a ACL injury with the franchise and the Lions that just easing them back in. Don't want to risk it. They're like, we're going to save you for 2023. Little did they know that this fucking idiot was going to bet on some games and get himself suspended for 6 weeks. But guess what? It just means the fire is building more. It's building more. It's building more. It's building more. When he's finally unleashed in the NFL, running his deep post routes, his streaks, his deep in routes, and catching those slants when teams are blitzing, you're talking about a guy who's going to go to the crib. The crib. There's nobody going to catch this boy. You're talking about a modern day Deshaun Jackson, but taller. I see big things coming for Deshaun Jackson. I mean, for Jameson Williams. I really do. So, yeah, like I was saying, Josh Reynolds' production is just really good for Jameson Williams. Now, I got Tyreek Hill. I got Deebo Samuel. I got Puka Nacua. I got Justin Jefferson. I got Devontae Smith. I got Keenan Allen. I got Nico Collins. I got Stephon Diggs. I got CeeDee Lamb. That's 9. I got St. Brown if he stays on the field all year. I got Olave as 11. And my 12th on a comeback late will be Jamar Chase. Do not forget about Jamar Chase. Wide receiver 2s. We got Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf. Then it's going to be a close one between a lot of guys, a lot of players. Maybe a Tyler Lockett. Maybe a Zay Flowers. Maybe a Tank Dell keeps climbing. Maybe I'm wrong and, Nico falls in the wide receiver 2 category. That's possible. But outside of that, that's what I'm thinking. Let's move on to running backs. At the running back position, Running back one of all fantasy is going to be Christian McCaffrey. It appears to me that the very sharp fantasy football eyes like myself were wrong about the San Francisco situation. They played a trick on us, those dirty son of a... I thought Mitchell was going to be more of a thorn. Yesterday, he was a little bit of a thorn. Like, it was kind of like, oh, there's the little thorn I've been thinking about in Mitchell. Because the first 2 weeks, they had him at... Let me show you here. They had Christian McCaffrey. Look at that. 92% snap share. 58 snaps. 57 snaps of 115. 57 average. Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne, Rachaad White. These are the kind of players that you're very, very happy despite their production so far because you see high snap count percentage. That means they're a running back one dog. Christian McCaffrey, dog. Barkley, when healthy, dog. Kyron Williams, now, dog. Josh Jacobs, dog. I can't call James Conner a dog. I'm sorry. Travis Etienne, dog. Rachaad White, dog. Raheem Mostert. Interesting. What's going to happen with Raheem Mostert once Jeff Wilson comes back? Because right now we're at a 73% snap share. That's dog territory. And that boy looks good. Ramondre Stevenson. Guys, if you have Ramondre Stevenson, hold. Do not get nervous about that, buddy. He's going to be just fine. Trust me. Joe Mixon. He's always been a volume guy. He gets volume. He's not the best in the world, but he's a high snap percentage count kind of guy. Look at Bijan. Much higher than I thought, guys. I said it was going to be 60% this year, tops. He's already more than what I thought. Bijan Robinson. I can admit when I'm wrong, guys. I thought Tyler Algier was going to be lurking a little bit harder. Tony Pollard, 64. That should be higher. The reason why I believe that it's at 64, though, is because they were in an absolute blowout in week one, and he didn't play as much. I think this number is going to be over 70, which makes him a dog. David Montgomery, very, very high total. Very bad for Gibbs owners, 62%. Very bad for Gibbs owners. Gibbs is going to be fucking unleashed this week, though. Kenneth Walker, I expect that number to climb into the 70 range. He's a dog. Derrick Henry, this is one of the most bizarre ones I can see this year. I don't really understand it. He's at 59% this year. He's still having great production. He's still the RB, the goal line guy, the running back, but he's not getting the third down work like he should. He's not on the field as much as he should be, which in my opinion is bad for the whole offense in general. James Cook, 60%. That's about what I would have expected. I was hoping it was closer to 70, but he's the true RB1. He's good value this year, and he's in a good offense. He will be productive for you week in and week out. And I should say you, I really be me, because I have James Cook, and I have a lot of stock in him. Brian Robinson Jr., I would have told you this number was higher if I didn't look at it. 56%. I would have told you that number was higher. DeAndre, the only reason why that's so low is because week one he didn't play, really. But we'll see where that goes after Monday night. I'm extremely interested to see what the Eagles do Monday night now that Gainwell's back. As a matter of fact, let's look at what Gainwell status is so far, if they updated it for today. And we have it. He's healthy, guys. Officially limited Thursday. They took him off the injury list, though. I don't see any injury designation for him. Gainwell. So It's going to be extremely interesting to see what they do with Gainwell Monday night, guys. It's going to be very interesting, especially for me because I have stock in DeAndre Swift. Looks like they upgraded DeAndre's projections, though, higher than Raheem Mostert's. So Yahoo's got a hunch that DeAndre's going to do better. Now, here's the thing. I've already went over this yesterday, so I'm not going to go over in extreme detail to this today, but I'm starting Raheem Mostert over Swift for more than just the reason that I see Gainwell looming in that offense. It's also because the Eagles are going to be playing against a very, very tough Bucs run defense, and I believe Philadelphia is going to have to throw the ball en route to victory. I believe they're going to throw a ball a ton. I think they're going to abandon the run. I think you're going to see a little bit of run from Gainwell and from Swift, and I'm sure it'll be a little bit successful, but for the most part, the Eagles' offensive game plan is going to be to throw the ball. The Buccaneers with Vita Vea, Levante David, and Devin White are extremely strong against the run. So that's the reason why I'm starting Raheem Mostert. We already saw in the lineups just a second ago that Raheem Mostert is at 70% snap share, which is extremely high. It's one of the best. So guys like Rachaad White, huge guys. He's getting all the carries, man. If you have Rachaad White stock, that's just exactly what you thought. And he was cheap this year. Raheem Mostert, cheap. Got lucky that Jeff Wilson got hurt, but he's a stud right now, guys. Kyron Williams, same thing. 80% snap share. That's huge, bro. He was 100 last week. So let's get to the top 12. Christian McCaffrey will be the RB1 this year. Tony Pollard will compete to be the running back 1, but I believe he'll finish RB2. Kyron Williams, there's a very good chance he finishes in RB1. Brian Robinson, very good chance he finishes in RB1. Bijan Robinson, RB1. Let me start keeping track here for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Saquon Barkley won't be a RB1 just because of this injury. If he's going to be out for a couple weeks, he might finish just outside. Derrick Henry, RB1. Kenneth Walker, RB1. Ramondre Stevenson, RB1. Austin Eckler, RB1. Travis Etienne, RB1. That's 10. After 10 guys, that's when it starts to get a little bit dicey. So you're interested to see what's going to happen with Raheem Mostert once Jeff Wilson comes back, because if he continues on with his role, he'll be an RB1, believe it or not. Saquon, there's a chance that he could fight him back after the injury, especially if he only misses 1 week, RB1. DeAndre Swift, if he continues to be the RB1 on his team, he will be an RB1 in fantasy. James Cook is officially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. James Cook is currently an RB1. Now, I think he'll fall out of the RB1 territory. I think Aaron Jones can surpass him. Ramondre Stevenson can surpass him. Eckler can surpass him. Travis Etienne can surpass him. So those kind of guys surpass him, then it takes him out of the RB1 range. But judging off the volume that I'm telling you about and the snap percentages, Christian McCaffrey, 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to give James Conner an RB1 destination. Josh Jacobs definitely could fight back and be an RB1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rachaad White could be 5. 6, Ramondre. 7, Bijan. 8, Tony Pollard. 9, Kenneth Walker. 10, Derrick Henry. And then I told you I'm starting to name guys that it gets a little dicey because Nick Chubb is, now that he's out, that opens up another spot. But let's get into RB2s. And combine them a little bit and then just say, hey, we don't know exactly where these guys are going to finish, but we got 24 running backs that are going to be top 2, which means they're must starts in your running back lineup every week. I already named most of these guys, but we'll add James Conner to that list just simply based off volume. Aaron Jones to that list. David Montgomery to that list if he can get healthy. Hey, Jerome Ford. He definitely could fight and be an RB2 this year. They have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, depending on what they're going to do with Kareem Hunt. Oh, I got a package, guys. Hold on. He left the package, so we're good. Let me see here. I want to get a little closer to y'all boys. Joe Mixon, RB2. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Colts. So that could be, Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, those kind of players. We'll see. Interested to see what happens. Very interested to see what happens with Jahmyr Gibbs Monday, because he could fight his way into being an RB2 this year. It's going to be interesting to see the development of Javonte Williams. And that pretty much covers it, guys. You're looking at running back, I named them all. McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard. Those guys are for sure RB1s. Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, Rashad White, Eckler, Travis Etienne. Those guys are guaranteed, man, because they got volume. They're talented. They're in good offenses. They'll continue on their pace. If you drafted Brian Robinson this year, I'm telling you what, it looked like he didn't get shot this offseason. That's what it looks like. He looks like a player that didn't get shot. So he's healthy. He's pounding. Commander, cool. Look at your boy, man. I like that close-up, man. We got to do more close-ups, man. Look at that. The vitamin water is like shining, bro. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like they don't want to show the there's no way that they're that smart where they don't show the label, right? There's no way that they're that smart. Is that a thing? I hate the way my light always screws up with the with my photo back here. Now, I think I did enough with the running backs. Let's go to tight ends. TJ Hawkinson. Man, I had him as one of my most overvalued tight ends in fantasy this year. And he's on a mission to prove me wrong. Now, here's the thing, guys. A lot of that production is off a 2-touchdown game against Philadelphia last week. So let's wait and see on this TJ Hawkinson guy. With that being said, tight ends are extremely hard to come by. So just the fact that he's already had 2 touchdowns, if you drafted TJ Hawkinson, most likely you did well. You're going to get production out of the tight end position. Looks like Kirk Cousins is slinging. So you're happy with having TJ Hawkinson. Hunter Henry. So far, a touchdown in each game, 5 targets and 6 targets. That touchdown pace is not going to continue, but every year there is tight ends that surprise you, and they have a big year from tight ends. It's just an outlier year for tight ends because tight ends is all about variance. Touchdowns are variance. So sometimes they just have big touchdown years. See Mercedes Lewis like 4 or 5 years ago. That may be the year for Hunter Henry. And then if you have him on your roster, you're just a lucky guy. George Kittle, he will be a top 5 tight end. He always is. He's going to have up and down weeks. You're going to see weeks like yesterday where he had 7 catches for 90 yards. And he will have games where he has a couple touchdowns. That's just who he is. So wait for those games, and you're going to be just fine. Darren Waller, he's a bum. He'll never be top 5. Evan Ingram, too many mouths to feed this year. Mark Andrews, he will be the tight end 1 or the tight end 2 this year, guaranteed. I would say Hawkinson is probably going to be tight end 3, and we all know who the tight end 1 is going to be. Travis Kelce. He missed 1 week, or else he'd be the tight end 1 right now. He caught a touchdown. I imagine this week against the Bears, you're going to see a huge breakout for Travis Kelce. Probably an absolute monster game, even to the point where you're inclined and hoping to start a guy like Sky Moore, like I am, but you don't want to because you know those kind of weeks that happen where Travis Kelce catches 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and Mahomes doesn't throw it to anybody else. I think the Bears are a perfect candidate for that to happen to. I don't predict them being able to scheme up to try to stop Travis Kelce. I think they're just not going to have a clue out there. I believe that Mahomes is going to have a 4 touchdown game. I'd say 3 of those are probably going to go to Travis Kelce. I think he's just going to eat. They play zone, a lot of zone. The Bears have pretty good corners and safeties. Eddie Jackson's out, by the way, so that's bad for the Bears. I just think that Travis is going to do whatever he wants to in this game. It's going to be a huge game for Travis Kelce. In DraftKings, I would look to start Travis Kelce this week. Now, besides those guys, man, that I just named, you're looking at a dumpster full of tight ends. Hawkinson, Andrews, and Kelce. Now, you're going to get some production from Hawkinson, it looks like, this year. It looks like Hunter Henry's off to a good start, and George Kittle is always a guy you can rely on, at least from the tight end perspective. Now, if there's anything you learned from this year thus far, and or anything you take from the advice I give every single week, and the advice that I gave, it was my first video on tight ends, by the way. I did my very first video of Fantasy Football Aces was on tight ends. I said, if you're not getting Travis Kelce, or barely you can put Mark Andrews in that conversation, don't draft a tight end, bro. Don't even fucking worry about drafting a tight end. You could have got Hunter Henry. That's the guy this year. That's the guy you throw in your position, and you just live with the results. You don't give a fuck if Hunter Henry's going to have a bad game maybe this week, but it doesn't matter. All the tight ends are bad. Literally, all of them are bad. And if you're spending, 15, if you're going to spend a decent amount of money like I did for Mark Andrews, you better get that production. I spent $25 on Mark Andrews. I could have had Deebo Samuel for $18. I could have had a ton of different good receivers in my lineup. You're essentially, when you're spending money on a tight end, if you're thinking about it from a mathematical standpoint, or in Snake, you're spending a higher draft pick on a tight end, you're essentially saying, hey, I'm putting a receiver at the tight end position versus all you guys who are going to have a shitty tight end. And then my receivers, I'll make up for it by getting undervalued guys like Mike Evans or Michael Pittman Jr., et cetera, et cetera. And in this way, I'm building a better team because the disparity that I'm getting at wide receiver is less than the disparity that you're going to suffer at the tight end position. Now, if you spend a decent amount of money on a guy like Hawkinson or Andrews and they don't produce for you, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill your fantasy football team. And if you spent a decent amount of money on Waller or, let's see, I would say that's it. Waller is like the guy that you're going to be extremely disappointed this year because if you spent a decent pick on him, you're pissed right now. Kittle, I think he's going to be worth it because he's going to have those big games that win you weeks, right? We got a message on YouTube. Let's see what they're talking about. I took it off my thing, but I'm gonna leave it as one of my. No, I should have left it. Let's see. I found it. So let's see here. 12-man PPR, 2 flex starters are Tua, Kyron, Stephon, AJ Brown, Mark Andrews, Keenan, Chris Olave, bench Gus, B Hall. This is a mess here, buddy. I don't know what you're trying to say. Starters are Tua, Ramondre, Kyron, Stephon, AJ, Martin, Keenan, Chris Olave, bench Gus. Oh, I see what you're saying. Your bench is Gus, B Hall, J Hill, D Harris, Rashad, Bourne, Hunter, Henry. Thoughts? Any moves, trades? Trade Kyrie for JT, but then my starting RB2 would be Breece Hall. No, do not trade Kyron Williams. Do not trade Kyron Williams. 12-man PPR, 2 flex. I assume that it's 2 receivers. If it's 2 receivers, well, I'm going to go off your starters, obviously. Ramondre, Kyron, Stephon, A.J. Brown. It's 2 receivers, yeah. Mark Andrews, Keenan, and Chris Olave, yeah. Keenan and Chris Olave are your flex. It's PPR. This is a good team. Don't fuck with this team, man. You don't always have to make trades. Trades are something you do when you are A, trying to take advantage of a team that's desperate, or B, you're desperate. And it's too early for either one of those things. Nobody's going to be desperate right now, so you're not going to take advantage of anybody. And number 2, you're not desperate. Your team's solid. This team's going to win games. Be patient with Ramondre. Hold Kyron Williams. He's getting, let me go back to this. Kyron Williams. 80% snap share through 2 weeks. He was 100% snap share last week. You don't get that kind of snap share very often. That's a 3-down horse dog. And when you have a 3-down horse dog, you never trade him. What are you going to do? Move Breece Hall into your lineup like you said? This guy's splitting. This guy's getting eased back into the lineup for the New York Jets. They can't move the ball. They can't block. They're not going to convert on 3rd down. Stafford's going to convert on 3rd down. Puka Nacua. When Cooper Kupp comes back. Tutu Atwell. He's slinging. He's moving the chains. Guess what that means? That means more red zone opportunities for Kyron Williams. You're not trading him. You're keeping him. He's a dog. Pick one. Tank Dell. JSN. I assume that's the Seattle Seahawks rookie. Or Sky Moore. It's tough, man. That's a tough one. Let me make sure that you're talking about who I think you're talking about. I know that this team has him. Yeah, JSN is who I thought it was. The Seattle Seahawks rookie. I can't say his last name, but Jackson Smith. It's going to be between Tank Dell and Sky Moore. I'd roll with Tank Dell. But I think you can flip a coin between Tank Dell and Sky Moore. Reason being, Sky Moore there's a good chance that Kadarius Toney doesn't play. On top of that, checking my screen here. Look at the screen here. Wide receivers. Snap shares. We're going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be hard to do what I want to here, unfortunately. But I'm going to do my best for you, buddy. All right. So through 2 weeks, we have MVS 72%, Sky Moore 63%. They are your 2 receivers, guys. Kadarius Toney is most likely going to be out this week. He's at low 25% snap share. But with that being said, Sky Moore is your wide receiver 1 in Kansas City. He is in an offense that is going to score points. They're going to score a lot more points this week against the Chicago Bears. They're 12.5-point favorites. The over-under is pretty high at 48 points, I believe. You're looking at possibly a huge breakout performance from Sky Moore. Now, Tank Dell has been more of a volume guy. He is starting to turn himself into the wide receiver 2 in Houston, behind Nico Collins. He's competing with Robert Woods for targets. I think all 3 of those guys can be supported in fantasy football. Tank Dell is extremely talented. I think that you can flip a coin between Sky Moore and Tank Dell this week. If it was me, I probably would go with Tank Dell simply because I want Sky Moore to get more targets. Last week, he only had 3 or 4 targets, and I'll give you those exact numbers right now because I have Sky Moore on my team. He had 3 targets week 1, 4 targets week 2. That's not enough. I need more targets from him. We'll see against a shitty Bears defense what happens. But I said this on one of my other podcasts, in one of my other episodes and podcasts, but I'll say it again. Sky Moore, in my opinion, right now, he needs to prove to me that he's gonna get more volume. I'm still really high on Sky Moore personally, but I need to see him get 7 or 8 targets, and I need to see him do that a couple of weeks in a row. And that's what he should be getting. There's no reason why right now at 63% snap share, the wide receiver 1 on the team, why he's not getting more than 3 and 4 targets back-to-back weeks. It makes no sense. It just means that Pat Mahomes quite literally is spreading the ball around to like 13, 14 different guys. As a matter of fact, when you look at the box score after Kansas City Chiefs play and you compare it to all the other teams, dude, he has targets for like 7 more guys than any other team. They got backup tight ends getting the ball. They got 3 different running backs getting the ball. I'm talking about targets. They got like 6 different receivers getting the ball. Every single one of them here is getting targets. Rashid Rice, Richie James, Justin Ross is hurt. That's the thing. Kadarius is hurt. Justin Watson is getting targets. And they're using them all in different formations. So it's really tough. If I'm a Sky Moore owner, which I am, it's a wait-and-see approach at this point. I'm really high on Sky Moore this year still. I think that he can be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy football in that system with Patrick Mahomes. But it's a wait-and-see kind of approach right now. You got to prove it to me right now, Sky. We got to see more than 3 and 4 targets. We have to. And Tank Dell, we know what we're getting right now. Tank Dell, he got deployed into the lineup for the first time in his career last week. 20-point output, 7 receptions, 72 yards, a touchdown, and 10 targets. You got to start Tank Dell. It's a coin flip because I believe Sky Moore is going to have a big week this week against the Bears because the Bears are just that bad on defense. You got Kadarius Toney possibly out, which gives Sky more opportunities. But I would roll with Tank Dell, man. It's the safer play, but you can flip a coin between those 2. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, man, I've been ranting for at least an hour, I think. So I don't really know exactly what else I want to rant about. Let's go back to the Diamond League. So I'm really excited about this team, man. I think this team can win a championship this year. I really want to win a championship this year. I love the fact that I have Mostert, James Cook, Tony Pollard, and DeAndre Swift. Those 4 guys, that's depth right there, man. If one of these guys get hurt, at least I know I have somebody to back them up. I think that even when Jeff Wilson comes back, Raheem Mostert is going to be a force this year. He looks really good. He's in an absolutely amazing offense. If Tua is succeeding, as much as I hate on my boy young kicker and Tua, it's a good thing because that means Raheem Mostert's getting lots of red zone opportunities, lots of goal line carries. And Raheem Mostert, it could be a RB1 this year, which is crazy to say, but it is true. Bree, stop. And James Cook, he's going to be what he is. You know, he's in a great offense in Buffalo, which is the reason why I drafted him. And he'll be an RB2 all year in that territory. If he ends up somehow getting goal line carries, he could be an RB1. I don't see that happening. I don't predict that happening unless Damian Harris gets hurt or something like that. Even if that happens, Latavius Murray will probably get the goal line carries. But with that being said, James Cook is solid. I got DeAndre Hopkins, who is a huge PPR legend. He's a guy who gets a ton of volume. I think as long as he's healthy, and we haven't gotten a Friday update or whether or not he practices today if he gets off this injury list. But DeAndre Hopkins is a target machine, guys, and I'm high on him. I stole Nico Collins off the waivers. I stole Puka Nacua off the waivers. I stole Matthew Stafford off the waivers. I got dogs and Justin Field on the bench. I got Sky Moore, who I still think is going to have a big year. I got DeAndre Swift, who is deployed as the true RB1 in Philadelphia, will be an RB1 in fantasy football. I got Bateman, who Odell Beckham just got hurt, and I think will ball out finally in that Baltimore offense. And I got Quentin Johnston, who I am not giving up on until week 8 because rookies come on late. Because when it's late, it's great. And Quentin Johnston, I do love him. Jameson Williams, last but not least, and when I say not least, I really mean it because Jameson Williams is a fucking dog. And when Jameson Williams comes back, ooh, fucking I'm deploying him. As soon as week 7 comes around and he gets off that suspension, you better believe I'm putting Jameson Williams in my lineup. I don't give a fuck. Last year, I had Jameson Williams on my bench all year. He came back from fucking injury. The Detroit Lions put him in. I couldn't resist. That man only played like 3 snaps the whole game. He was in my starting lineup. I don't care, bro. That's how talented he is. You have to put him in your lineup. He's one of those kind of players that you're going to regret it and have FOMO if you don't. And I don't even have FOMO typically, but Jameson Williams is a beast. When he comes back, he's going to be a monster. He's going to prove himself in the NFL and why he's one of the best receivers that came in out of that class. And you're talking about a class with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. He was rated just as high as both of those guys. Higher than Olave, same as Garrett Wilson. Different kind of receivers, all 3 of them. They're all 3 different kind of receivers. I'll say it again. Jameson Williams is like Deshaun Jackson. You're going to see a guy go fucking up top. You're going to see a guy that has different kind of speed. A guy that stands out. A guy like Tyreek Hill, when you see that speed, it's just different than everybody else's. You're like, because everybody's fast in the NFL, but then you see that one guy who's just faster than the rest of them, and he just looks different. That's Jameson Williams. I'm really excited for this team, man. We're gonna be we're gonna compete for a championship this year. We're 2-0. We're gonna be in a dogfight against Bishop Sycamore, who had a 20-point output from Christian McCaffrey. I'll live with that. If I had to pick my teams in the fantasy football playoffs this year, I would pick. Ooh, he changed his name. Baby Kyrene. I would pick Baby Kyrene to make the playoffs. I would pick Fantasy Football Aces to make the playoffs, the Criminals to make the playoffs, Automatic Pick'ems to make the playoffs, Physics Stream Team to make the playoffs, and then I think it's going to be in between Midlife Crisis and Bishop Sycamore for the 6th spot. I think Korea will fall out because suffering the Nick Chubb injury might be a little bit too much to overcome, but I believe that Korea, Bishop Sycamore, and Midlife Crisis will fight for that last spot in the playoffs. Baby Kyrene, Fantasy Football Aces, the Criminals, Automatic Pickens. I'm actually going to take Automatic Pickens out of the playoffs, guys, because I don't believe he's going to be able to make adjustments as the year progresses. He made it a great pickup with Gus Edwards, which really could help his team, especially if Austin Eckler can get healthy. Austin Eckler's out. That's a huge break for this guy might be in trouble with Eckler banged up. So I'm going to take him out. So we're going to be Baby Kyrene, Fantasy Football Aces, the Criminals, Bishop Sycamore, Physics Dream Team, and then it's going to be a fight between Korea and Midlife Crisis for that 6th spot. Now, I tend to lean with Josh Allen, man. A Josh Allen-led fantasy football team tends to make the playoffs, and I believe Korea will pick up another player that he needs to make the playoffs. That's what he's good at that. He's like, I compare that to me, him and I. We're not going to give up. We're going to make trades. We're going to make moves. We're going to make smart free agent moves. We're going to pick up guys that we think are going to get it hurt. Look what he did here. He picked up Vaughn for the Dallas, hoping that Tony Pollard gets hurt. And then he's going to laugh at me. Ha ha. That's what he's going to do when Tony Pollard gets hurt. That's what Korea does. He's a fighter. He's 2-0. He lost Nick Chubb, but he could easily fight for a playoff spot. Midlife crisis. He lives and dies in this fantasy football game. This is what he does for his. He loves this shit more than anybody. The only person I would say loves it more is me, hence me being on this podcast right now, ranting by myself for no reason to anybody. It tells you how much I love this fantasy football game. This team could fight for a playoff spot if Breece Hall ends up getting healthy as the year progresses and Jahmyr Gibbs steals that number one role from Montgomery. If those two things can happen, these two things, guys, Breece Hall gets healthy later in the year, and while that happening, midlife crisis keeps his record at a playoff contention, and combined with Jahmyr Gibbs taking over that backfield, this is a team that can easily make the playoffs. Deebo Samuels, it looks like a goon. Looks like he's going to possibly be a wide receiver 1 this year. DK Metcalf is always strong. He's a good player. George Pickens, I'm not high on, but if with Deontay Johnson out, he's the only guy left to throw it to on that offense, and they're going to be losing a lot. So that means he's going to have a lot of negative scripts in his favor, similarly to Nico Collins. And the way I love Nico Collins, I can see the reason why midlife crisis would like George Pickens. A lot of similarities between those two guys. Nico's a bigger guy, and Nico's probably more dominant. He's going to get more yards after the catch. But George Pickens is a big boy himself. He's a better jumper, probably a better athlete than Nico. So, the difference is C.J. Stroud's a lot better than Pickett for Pittsburgh. That's the main difference in my eyes. But as far as comparing the two players, they're both talented. I don't like the Pittsburgh offense. I don't think they're going to be able to keep the ball on the field on third down, which means less opportunities for George Pickens. This is the way I think about fantasy football. You want offenses that can stay on the field on third down, have a high percentage rate on third down. Therefore, the players in that offense all get more opportunities, more targets, more carries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They get more red zone opportunities. With that being said, Dallas Goedert, he's one of those kind of guys. If you spent more than $10 on him or a mid-round pick on him, you wasted your money. You should have just fucking fell back and found yourself a Hunter Henry. Chris Godwin's, he's a little slower this year than expected. If I was him, I would start Isaiah Pacheco over Breece Hall personally, but that's up to him. He's got Kareem Hunt, who's going to give him help for sure. I think this team could definitely compete for a playoff spot. They're going to be competing against Korea for a playoff spot, in my opinion. I think you're looking at, and pending no injuries, guys, a baby Kyrene, a fantasy football aces, myself, the Criminals, the Bishop Sycamore, the Physics Stream team, and then you're looking at a midlife crisis versus Korea for a 6 spot. That's what I think. Now we got in the chat, guys. Just got offered Higgins and Kenneth Walker for CD PPR. What you think? I would do that in a heartbeat. I would accept that trade, and then I would I would say, I ain't nice. Motherfucker, I ain't nice. And I would laugh at them, and I would accept. You get an RB1 true 3-down dog and Kenneth Walker, and then you get T. Higgins. Granted, I know CD is a monster. Trust me, I like CD a lot. But Higgins, the disparity between Higgins and CD is not going to be that much. And then you're picking up a 3-down horse dog and Kenneth Walker. What you want, Bree? Come here. Come. So I would do that trade in a heartbeat. I didn't even read this part. Pick RB1, wide receiver 1, and 1 flex full PPR. Oh, this is a different message. Sorry. Pick one RB, 1 wide receiver, and 1 flex full PPR. It's scary, Terry, not Terry scary. But I know what you were trying to say there. Scary Terry. Jahan Dotson, Sutton, Warren, Joshua Kelly, Stevenson, Drake London, Kenneth Gainwell. I'm starting Bijan as my RB1. So I don't really understand what you want me to do here, but I'm going to do my best to understand what you want me to do here. Out of the people that you named here, I would start Joshua Kelly for sure because Eckler is out. I would give him another shot, even though I know he disappointed this past week. I'd give him another shot. I'd put him in all of your fantasy DraftKings lineups this week too. Give him another shot there, even though he let us down. So that would be the guy along with Bijan Robinson. I agree. Of course, you're not taking him out. You're not starting Kenneth Gainwell. You're not starting Drake London. I love Ramondre Stevenson, so he's your flex. So it's Bijan, it's Ramondre Stevenson, and it's Joshua Kelly. You're starting those three guys. So now you have one receiver to pick. Out of the guys that you named, it's obviously between Scary Terry and Jahan Dotson. I think you could flip a coin on that, but after seeing that catch that Scary Terry made last week in the end zone, how can you take him out of your lineup? That was a great catch by him. Dotson hasn't done shit this year so far. He's got to prove himself in the fantasy football world before he gets any love. He had that incredible start to the year last year where he had he had that the variance in touchdowns where he caught so many touchdowns that you knew it couldn't continue on. And you're seeing that that it's not continuing on now, and especially with Sam Howell. If Sam Howell, we're yet to really determine who he likes to throw to more, but it looks like Scary Terry. I mean, that was a great catch by Terry. Terry's a fucking great receiver, man. He's got a ton of talent. He's the better receiver between those two. I would start Scary Terry. So it would be Scary Terry. It would be RB1, Ramondre Stevenson. Wide receiver 1, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. And the flex would be Joshua Kelly. That's the way I would go with it. And then you already said that Bijan Robinson is your RB1. Now, if you meant Bijan's your RB1 and then you want me to pick some other shit, like, yeah, of course, then you're not picking nobody else. You're putting Ramondre Stevenson in your flex, and then you're putting Scary Terry in. That's your options. But I assume you mean you get 2 running backs, so Bijan and then obviously Ramondre Stevenson. Then you're going to have at the flex Joshua Kelly, and then you're going to have Terry McLaurin. That's an easy one, man. That's not difficult at all. You're not going to chase those touchdowns from Drake London, man. That team's not throwing the ball. They got to prove it. If you got other options outside of Drake London, granted, I put Drake London as one of my undervalued receivers in fantasy this year, and I always say this: you can't fucking teach size. You can't teach size. See Mike Evans, see Nico Collins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not throwing the fucking ball in Atlanta, and they don't have to, frankly. They pound bitches. They got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Bijan's a fucking superstar. Tyler Algier is good. Cordell Pedersen will be back soon. They're going to pound people, and that's what Arthur Smith wants to do. If you can't stop them, the run, then piss off. I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to be able to stop the run either. So you can't start Drake London at all. You got to start Terry McLaurin. Sutton's not startable. So if I was you, man, I'd possibly try to move off one of these guys and trade for a better receiver. It looks like to me your receivers are pretty sleepy. Yeah, man, I just really enjoy ranting, guys. It's what I do. I hope people enjoy myself. I'm going to get the fuck off of here, though, and enjoy the rest of my Friday. I hope y'all boys really enjoyed it. I'm going to give y'all one flex for the world here one time. That's what happens when you're in the gym, you eat healthy, and you drink vitamin water with no sugar, and you only drink water. Quit fucking eating shit with added sugars. Quit eating that bullshit food. If you live in Florida or Tampa specifically, come get that So Fresh, the restaurants I own. And yeah, man, take care of your body. It's the number one asset. It's the best. It's the number one asset. It's the only asset that we have that fucking matters. Your car doesn't matter. Your house doesn't matter. None of that bullshit matters, including your sorry-ass fantasy football team. Take care of your body. You a real one. Thanks for the advice. I appreciate you, bro. I ain't nice though, just so you know. Like my chat says, I ain't nice. All right, boys, I'm out of here, man. I'll be back Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Hopefully, I got Young Kicker in the building to shoot the shit with me. I think these pods are gonna be way better when I got a guest in the building that I can, argue with and do my thing with. So, peace out though, y'all.